All right, it is 12:01. I see we have a nice group of people trickling on in. We are few, but we are mighty, and we are good to get started. Today's Lunch and Learn. So my name is Brian Carey, and I am one of the technical project managers on the professional services team. And I will be the host for today's Lunch and Learn. So before we get started, this Wednesday, March 23rd, from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Decisions is hosting part one of a business transformation series, examining how financial institutions are fueling revenue and customer growth through automation technology. Go to http://decisions.com/events and click on the featured event webinar, Growing Your Banking Customer Base Faster and Smarter Loan Organization to register. Jeff Ward, Director of Innovation Financial Services at Decision, will host Jim Perry, Financial Services Marketing Guru of Marketing Insights Incorporated. Don't miss Jeff and Jim's discussion about leveraging leading edge technology to gain competitive advantage against larger financial institutions. Join us as we showcase how dynamic tools can be used to achieve faster and smarter loan origination. Register now. With that being said, thank you, Sabrina, for dropping those links there in the channel for us. I open the floor to the attendees. So do you have any questions? What can I help you with today?
Yeah, I got one for you, Brian.
Sure, David.
Is there a step or a couple of steps that I can string together to be able to restart my instance? So basically restart the service host manager.
I believe there is, but you should use that with with the highest amount of discretion and be very careful. And I'm gonna hop over into the studio right now. We can take a look.
Sure.
I feel like I've seen this before, but I want to confirm for you, and that's what these are for.
Okay.
Oops. Anthony Ben, I see that you are on. Would you happen to know this off the top of your head while I'm looking? Would you have knowledge of where this step would be located at? I think I've seen it before.
Yeah, it might be under internal services. I haven't used the step myself personally.
Yeah, I had looked under internal service.
Yeah, right. Let's go down, Brian.
Mhm.
Right under internal services here.
Yeah, I had looked in the instance service and then also the server instance and the server internal services, but I'm not sure if that's the right place that I was looking at.
Restart instance.
Yeah, so I found that and it wants an ID. And then I thought, well, okay, where and how do I get the ID from? Right.
I think there's a get.
Yeah,
when I was
there's
scrolling.
I found one that was a get instance by name. And so I dropped that in and hooked that to my green guy. And in flow data, in the data explorer under flow data, there is an instance name there. So I hooked that into that guy, but it came back with no results. And I guess I was confused.
So let's see what you did. You said instance name.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, see, I got that in the null output.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to system. I think I may have seen something there. Get instance URL. Get instance name. Because I wonder, what if primary is just like a shortened version, and that's not what we need.
Yeah.
Nope, primary is the name. Yeah, it's not liking that. I wonder. Flow data. No, these are all strings. Like, account. I'm trying to see if in flow data we have access to the actual instance information.
Right. That's where my
Does-
head went to. All I saw was the name in there, and I thought, okay, I can work with that if I get instance by name, but it just output that the null from that step.
Okay, let me follow up with this in our support channel and get back to you. I'm gonna post that now, so hopefully before this ends, I can have an answer for you.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I mean, there's always a way around it. So I mean, if I can't do it with native steps, I'll just do it. I'll just find a step to execute it from the command line or do it from a batch file or something like that. But
Which seems a
rather
little
not.
bit more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I'd rather not have to go that way if I don't have to.
All right, let me post that in support now. All right, I'm gonna move on while we're waiting on this. So I see we have another question. Where'd it go?
Yeah,
It's in
hi
the
David,
chat.
Nate here. Yeah, so David, my requirement is like I have some txt and .dat file which we need to use as a template for all our different clients. We need to modify the data from a DB based on their details, and those files will be inside a folder, and we need to make it out as a zip file later on, which we need to transfer on SFTP. That is fine. So how we can do it, and we are using decision 6 version.
Okay. So you need to modify the contents of the file, and then you need to bundle it in a zip and pass it out.
Yes.
Okay. So separations, internal. So I'll go to file first. It looks like it would be under file, but let me go back up. Or files. No, that's just run command prompt. I see we have something called an unzip file step. I don't know if it's searchable. So we do have unzip. That's going to be the opposite. Let me drag that out. So that would leave we have zip as well. Zip files. Where does this live at, out of curiosity? I did not see that in that directory. So zip files, that's going to be the last step you need. Let's work backwards. So it sounds like to me you're going to have to do some file manipulation. You said text. Let's see. Integration file. What kind of modification do you need to do to the text file? Are you simply appending text, or could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So basically, it's a sometime append, and sometimes we need to replace that placeholder. Some text will be written as a placeholder. We need to replace that text, and we need to put our data there. It can be a text. It can be a combination of text and digit.
It's kind of like a fill in the blank. Correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Sorry, come again.
It's like a fill in the blank. You have a file and it has some data that needs to be dynamic based off of some parameters, and you want to fill that data in and then zip it up and pass it out.
It's kind of mostly it is replacing a text, and sometimes we need to append.
Okay. No, it's not going to be it. So this, to me, I think the method to go about doing that is you would pass that file into the read all lines from text file, and then it would give you that array. And then based off of that, you can find the specific sequence, the part of the string that needs to be replaced. And I would merge that back into a file and pass that out. So I would use the create text file step and then pass that out. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so we have two type of file. One is
Mhm.
.txt and another one is .dat file extension.
Right.
So we haven't found any that extension support here. Do we have a support for that kind of file?
.dat. Let me find out, because like you said, we've answered about half of that with the text. I'm gonna see if I can't find an example of a .dat file. Jeez. Okay, and this is asking for the file name. I'm gonna see if I can use the create data step. This step is strange. It's asking for a string. It's not asking for us to actually give it the file. Anthony, Ben, what are your thoughts? Is there anything that I'm missing?
For a .dat file, is it possible just to use create file step? Because I'm not sure if we could specify the extension here under the file name.
Also, there's no output. It's the same as creating this file. There's no output. So, I mean, this would allow us to give it a byte array and then a file name, but it wouldn't. For us to consume later in the flow, we would need it as a output parameter. You see what I'm saying?
And try to just create the file and the file storage. So we have to search for that as well.
Yeah, just based off of this, I don't know if it's taking time to render, but yeah, it's just gonna say yes, done. There's no actual data that we can use. Whose question was this?
Yeah, we need here.
Vineet? Okay. I will take note of this and I will follow up with you. Could you please just drop your email address in Sabrina? Could
Sure. Yeah.
make sure we get that.
Yep.
All right. Kalyani, what do we have here? I have created the above flow, but at the end, I just wanted to indicate that on which part I've clicked on. So let's take a look. So you're using tile flow behavior and can you come off of mute so we can talk about this?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So this will basically create a flow which will change the report based on your tile selection. So at the end, I just want, if you can scroll down. Yeah, here, if you can see, on click of account reports will display, and folder reports will display. I just want to highlight which report is being displayed based on the tile. I just want to highlight that tile. Is it possible?
You want to highlight the type. So the contents of this.
The tiles, like the account report should be in a different color or something, background color or anything on that.
So you're saying the actual buttons over here, you want them to be different colors based on what you click.
Yes.
I wonder, are we setting this text anywhere? Let me walk through the documentation real quick. It's just a report. Because to me, that sounds like JavaScript, just my initial thoughts. But I want to see if we are passing this out anywhere. So we could, so I see here we are using a folders report merge text inside the merge plain text. So this could, what we could do is we could switch this to a merge HTML and display that there. So let's give that a go. Like it says here, yeah, the merge HTML text. And that should allow us, because I know that does have some additional styling options. So I'm gonna give that a go. Right, and just from the flow perspective, what I want to do is gotta create tile data step. Drag this out. And then we're going to set the input to line 1. This is okay, so that doesn't do that. Let me switch this to the merge HTML text. And so here's the additional options that I was just detailing. So the documentation doesn't show these options. It looks like they used a merge plain text, which the features, I guess they must have moved the cursor off so it didn't highlight these. So this is in fact, they probably did use a merge plain text. Make this larger. And what that would look like is in the initial one, they have this orange. And what's the next step they add in there? This is from tile actions. Select, push data to controls. And the next section is define constant data bus. The data bus value. Here we're going to put our report ID. I'm assuming you've already done that. And then this, we're going to add another create tile data step. And then in this one, we are going to use the same data bus name, which is report. And identical ID. And the merge plain text is going to be I'm going to snag it from here. Okay, then for the tile data input to the end step, select value, and we're going to pass that out. Let me get rid of this. We're going to pass these two out, and the report viewer, let's see. Report ID from the selection bus. And I think so. It looks like in the documentation they have, looks like they're doing one for the accounts and one for the reports. And I would do for the accounts one, I would have, this is when it's not clicked, I would have it just generic one in the created tile. I could, let's say, we have highlighting as an option. I'll change the color. Anthony, are you looking at the documentation as well?
Report tile data.
Sorry, what was that?
Change report tiles.
Are they doing, I'm trying to tell from that, are they doing the account and the account and folders? They're separate flows?
HTML. Tile data. It should be in one single flow here. Is there something going on the page? Let me see.
So now I'm gonna go back and create a page. Yeah. Put a simple tile here. And then I'm gonna plug in that flow that I just made. All right, it's not showing. Probably because of the behavior that I have set on it. Step information, properties, settings. No worries, I'll just copy it. So in here, we're going to create, and this is going to be reports menu flow. And steps, grab my template. Okay, and this is where we picked up at. We have our text put in there. We need the report IDs to fill in. So this is going to be, we need to locate the accounts report and get its ID. So I'm going to save this, get out of here. And this is the ID that we need. So we're going to go to manage, get report ID, snag this. And that's what we're going to put in the first value. Back in the flow designer, we set report ID is that. Okay, great. Then we add another one. And then we set up the whole same data was name. Data was value folders, report ID. And then we build the HTML text. Save. So we're going to build an array. Called it 2. It did not take. It's not letting me pass out a list. Yeah, that's not going to do that. Anthony, Ben, have you seen this either?
And say it's how data is not being served as an output.
No, tile data, it is defaulting to the singular item in the documentation. So I'm going to hop over here so you can see here. The documentation here says that, okay, you connect these. For tile data, we use the build array mapping step. This is a tile data list. When I switch it to a list and click off of it, it reverts back to the singular item. So this is a single item. Edit. I can turn it to a list. It has my mapping here. It looks fine. I click off. The air's still
Maybe that's
here.
back here. Let's see.
So for who asked the original question, Kalyani, so were you able to get as far as having the list passed out of the tile data flow?
Yeah, just select one of the tile 1 or tile 2. I guess that might be.
So that might. So you're saying you just selected tile 1 or tile data 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, the behavior may have changed in version 6 and version 7.
Because what I'm thinking here based off, so if it looks like we need to be able to tell which one was clicked, and so based off there's no real outputs here. I mean, there's tile data, but there's no way to distinguish. To me, the more I wanted to walk through this to make sure that I saw all the moving parts of it, and this really looks like JavaScript. What's your assessment, Anthony Ben?
Yeah, it's possible to use it through JavaScript instead of tile data.
Mhm.
If we're doing it through tile data, I don't think we can change the color for it. They're on page refresh here.
It's on page refresh.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can change like the colors of each of these tiles here on page refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the individual tile parts then.
Okay. So based off of that, Kalyani, it doesn't appear that we can do this in terms of changing it without the addition of JavaScript of some sort. Could you drop your email as well, and we can follow up with you?
Okay. Yeah. So I have one more actually.
One more what?
Yeah, one more question.
Sure.
Yeah, so in the reports which we have made, I have used paging. But after paging, what is happening? Suppose I have made the paging based on only 10 rows on single page. So on first page, it is 1 to 10. On
Mhm.
second page, again, it is 1 to 10. I
Mhm.
want, sorry.
No, I'm following along. Continue.
Okay, yeah. So I want for first page 1 to 10, second page 11 to 20, like this in the reports.
Right. Let me close and save this just for the purpose of what you're saying. And I'm going to put a report viewer component. And I'm going to make this the accounts report by default. And I'm going to hop into here. And just like you said, I'm going to limit the results to rows per page 10. And then pagination mode numeric. Okay, fine. Save this. And all right, so it's going to make me put a folder here. Add folder. Manage. Add a page. So this is what you're saying. You have, it's going to be the first 10.
Right.
And then you see you click on the next one.
It's again 1 to 10. Is it possible that on first 1 to 10, then 11 to 20?
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. So you just wanted to know how can you segment it up and set how many rows you want on a page?
Sorry, come again?
So all you were asking was how do you define the number of rows per page?
No, I'm asking like if you go to the first page of the report, it's 1 to 10 numbers, right?
Correct.
Yeah, on the second page, again, the numbering is 1 to 10. I want it 11 to 20.
Ah, so you're not saying the showing here. So the way we do this by default is showing it here, and this is just for the pages, or excuse me, the rows that are currently displayed, but you want these to match what's showing. I see what you're
Okay, so
asking now.
we can't do it here, right? Above,
Don't
in the
believe so. I
report.
think someone asked about this the other day, and I don't think we can.
Okay. That's all from me. Thank you.
Let me look. Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
Okay.
Let's see what we have up next. That was just David to Vineet.
Yeah, I believe we can create .dat files with the create file step. I'm just not sure if we can manipulate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, with string, similar to how we manipulate .text files.
well, my question here is I've never worked with the .dat file, so you guys may have to illuminate me here. But is it possible, do you think, for us to create it as a text file and then convert it to a .dat file by mapping in the contents per se?
Mhm.
By mapping in the byte array?
Might be possible. I've also never worked .data files before.
David thinks so.
So we have that file, something like, um, uh, fixed with something like that file, and not sure, but can we convert like this? Not sure. Do you have any conversion, like if we can convert from that file to txt, and after doing all modification, we can again make it as that file?
I don't know if we have a hard coded or explicitly defined steps for doing that, but what I was saying is we would have, let's say we have some file, we have a regular text file. So this is just going to be file data. And so with this, when we go to the data explorer, I'm saying what we could do potentially is go to file is not showing up. Here we go. So we would have a secondary step in which we would, so this is where we create the file data. I should probably name this better. .txt file data. So you would have your file data. This is just a placeholder essentially, and then you would have another step. And I'm using a create data step in lieu of the create file because that doesn't seem to pass out an output. File data. And then so build array. And you could take in the contents. Maybe that's the way to do it. So if you pass in, or however you get that text file into the flow, I'm thinking that maybe you can get the contents of it and write it into a DAT file like this. Anthony, Ben, what are your thoughts?
Pardon?
What are your thoughts on that? So if we were able to get the text file in the flow
Mhm.
and then build the DAT file like this, so pretty much in the file name is where you create the extension.
Yeah, so I just tried this with a flow. This is real simple to set up. If you guys have a few minutes.
Sure.
So the only, I mean, I'm not familiar with .dat file, so I just did a quick search in my file directory. There is a keys.dat file for a decision. So if you just go to wherever you're, I think it's in control instance or something like that, just make a copy of that keys file and throw it on the desktop or something. And then load it, like use a load file step
Mhm.
and aim it at that guy. Bring it into your flow and then grab a get string from bytes step, and into that one you pass your file contents, your string of bytes from the file, right? And then that should output a string that you're then able to manipulate, right? But when I did it, it comes back with some weird characters. So I think you have to get the right encoding. You have to get the right encoding thing on it too, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm following you. So I'm here, I'm looking at my local, and yeah, this isn't, so this is GA test, which isn't linked to my local, so I don't actually have access to the file there, so I wouldn't be able to point that to my the files on my desktop.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, as long, like I was just saying, copy it so we're not messing with that actual key file. But I mean, if we're just loading it, it shouldn't matter if we just aim it at that, if we can aim it at that file in that directory.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
so it's a matter of pretty much seeing the encryption type and trying to get it into a readable format that we can actually consume in the flow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to do it, but at the beginning of my string, I have a box with an X in it, 4 question marks, and a box with an X, right? Which I assume means that it doesn't know how to read, it doesn't know how to decode those bytes to the right thing, whether it's like Unicode or UTF-8 or something like that. I just used a random, like the generic get string from bytes, but there are several in there to get string from bytes as from UTF or the different encodings, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what you're saying is checking out.
Yeah.
Vineet, does that make sense to you at all?
We'll try, but I'm not very sure about it.
So essentially what David was saying, if you can get the DAT file in a location to where you have access to it and use a load file step, and then you're able to have that in the flow and get the outputs of that. And there's file to, let's look at that.
Yeah, or you have it's a template file, right, Vineet? Like it's something it's something that's always going to stay the same except for a token or something that you have inside of it, right?
Yes, David.
Yeah, so just do a create data step and make a variable in there and make it as a type of file data, and then just make it a constant and then load that in there, right? Because then the flow is doing the same thing every time with that. It's basically a constant of file, right? And then once you can get it to a string, then you can use any other sort of string manipulation steps that you want to be able to fiddle with it, right?
Right. Does that clarify for you, Vineet?
Yeah, I'll try that one.
Okay. If you have any further questions, just email support@decisions, and we'll be happy to set up a call with you to walk through that process. But what David's saying is checking out as far as I can tell.
So can we get a sample flow?
For dat file manipulation?
Yes.
Sure, I can reach out and see if we can get one to you. I have your email address. It is, yeah, you dropped it earlier.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I'll
I'm using decision 6. So if you give me that file, which is decision 7, then I will not be able to import it.
correct. Okay. I'll follow up with the support team, and we'll see if we can get you an example flow of how to do exactly that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. I see we have 2 more minutes. Does anybody have anything that we can go over really quickly before we convene today's lunch and learn?
I got one more. I hope it's quick for you.
Let's see.
Gosh, I just messed it up because I did my search thing. In the, I guess in the directory where when you install decisions, right? Like you get decisions, decision service manager. And if you go in there, it looks like there's a text file here for modules to install on startup. If I wanted to say install PowerShell or Exchange or something like that, one of the default like core decisions modules, is it as simple as just plugging decisions.PowerShell and then like decisions.Exchange in that text file and saving it, and then it would install or load those up on startup?
I think that it should be. So could you walk me down the where the location that is?
Go to Decision Services Manager.
Yep.
And then down modules to install on startup.
Yep. Yeah, you should be able to modify this file and install the modules like that.
Interesting. Okay. Would that, do you happen to know if that would also work with a custom module, assuming that it was in the custom modules folder?
A custom module, I do not know. I did know that we do have another location for custom modules, and so this is where because I've had to put custom DLLs and things. I should not typically put them there. I've never done with the own startup feature. I don't know if that applies to those custom DLLs or custom modules as well.
Okay. Cool. All right.
We can follow with you if you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine. If you don't mind.
Could you also give us your email address in the chat?
Yeah.
Great question, David. All right. That is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for your participation, and I look forward to seeing you guys on tomorrow's Lunch and Learn.
Thanks, bye.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.